How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FPL and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video we're going to be going over the Gameweek 26 preview. Questions involved in this video are going to be mainly centralized around Lundstram, as well as taking a look at a potential wildcard draft for those of you who are on the chip. We're going to be talking about everything Game Week 26. Stay tuned for the team selection coming up on later in the game week, which revolves around my own FPL squad. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Thank you to OneFootball for sponsoring this video. Link down below if you do want to use my download link to download this wonderful app. Thanks again for sponsoring the video. If you don't know, OneFootball is the everything football related app. It's free to download on iOS or Android, and you can see there on the table. I'm following the Premier League right now. Gives me all the goals, assists, and whatever I need to know, as well as following my favorite team if I do want to follow a team, which is for me Liverpool, but for you it could be anyone else. Also, if you want to track more leagues than just the Premier League, go and check out this app. As I said, link down below. So 2 reminders before we start. Firstly, the FA Cup replays are happening this week, and then secondly, the weekend deadline. So I know the weekend deadline seems to be quite a redundant thing to remind you guys about, but the deadline even took me by surprise for this upcoming game week, as I was under the impression that we did have 2 weeks of rest between Game Week 25 and Game Week 26. That's not the case. We only have 1 week, so stay tuned for that deadline stream coming up this weekend. I usually do my deadline with Dayvy streams. Hopefully you can join me for that one. I know last weekend we didn't quite do it before the deadline just because I had load shedding, but we only have 1 week between Game Week 25 and Game Week 26. This is a split game week, which means that there's going to be fixtures happening this weekend and then on the next game week, which allows every single Premier League team to get 2 weeks of rest between their fixtures. So quite a nice rest for our FPL squads, but it's also quite annoying having to split our FPL squads and make those kind of injury decisions and transfers with only 1 week of knowledge. The FA Cup replay is also taking place. We have some teams such as Liverpool who have come out, Jurgen Klopp saying that there's going to be no first team footballers, so we don't really have to worry about those players playing any minutes, but we do have Southampton and Spurs playing each other. And having seen the first game between Southampton and Spurs, both teams went for quite strong lineups, so just keep your eyes on that one. I know the likes of Danny Ings, and if you do own Heung-min Son, those are probably the 2 most popular players, so just keep an eye out on their minutes and hopefully they don't get injured. But without these reminders, let's get into the real questions. So my watch list has been updated prior to Game Week 26. The Game Week 25 fixtures changed quite a bit. The first player I have on my watch list is Henderson, the Sheffield United goalkeeper. You know Sheffield United have been absolute defensive giants this FPL season, doing really well, and they do come in quite cheap. He's currently at the 5 million mark, and he even has 1 assist to his name. So I know assists and goals is a really bad kind of characteristic to use for a goalkeeper, but that's simply just the watch list criteria, and he's played basically every minute. The only minutes he hasn't played are against his parent club Manchester United. He is on loan for them, so just stay tuned for that fixture coming up in a couple of game weeks. Just make sure that you do have a playing goalkeeper in your reserves. But with Henderson playing for a really good team, I think that if you are going to be tripling up or doubling up on that Sheffield United defense, I do think Henderson's a great option to go for. Reason being, penalty saves and even those save points. So he's quite a consistent penalty saver, and his save points always help. So even if Sheffield United don't keep the clean sheet, you can still bank on some points coming from Henderson. Then we have Raul Jimenez from Wolves. Wolves playing really well at the moment. At the start of the season weren't playing that well, but now I've seen a resurgence in that form. 7.7 million is quite a nice price to pay for a player that has 11 goals and 6 assists. So he's kind of carrying on his form from last season, and he's also played basically every minute. Complements Traore quite well. Those two seem to have a really good knowledge and football knowledge between each other right now, so I can see them assisting and scoring each other's goals and assists quite a lot. Then we have Heung-min Son, who every single time he's in my watch list, he seems to just get better. That is seen again this weekend after scoring against Man City, under that 10 million mark, having scored 7 goals and 9 assists, and he's basically also played quite a lot of minutes, but as you know with Son, he's had quite a lot of suspension, so he remains on the radar if you want to kind of fill another premium midfielder slot. If maybe you want to downgrade the likes of De Bruyne or one of those players, Heung-min Son looks like a really good option. I just love owning him in FPL, but we'll talk about Heung-min Son a little bit later on in the wildcard draft. So what to do with Lundstram? This is going to be the main talking point of this Game Week 26 preview. So if you don't know Lundstram, he was benched this game week. A little bit disappointed in that, but we have kind of seen it coming. He has been replaced by two players recently in that Sheffield United lineup. I know a lot of people said that after coming on this weekend, he really looked like Sheffield United's best player. But I just think with the upcoming fixtures and these newly transferred in players for Sheffield United, it's too much of a risk to kind of keep Lundstram when you want to kind of have a Sheffield United player as they're keeping so many clean sheets. Unfortunately, I do think this is the farewell to Lundstram, or Lord Lundstram as he's been known in the FPL community. A little bit of a sad scenario having bought him in at the start of the season for 4 million, but I do think we have to look at other players now because of just his rotation risk. So I'm going to be talking about two more budget options here, and then in the next talking point we'll be talking about some more premium options. So I don't know about you, but currently he's ranked at 4.5 million for myself. As I said, I bought him for 4 million and he's risen in price. So I'm probably going to be looking at downgrading him or maybe upgrading him by just 0.1 million. So the first option here is Lascelles from Newcastle. So Newcastle have shown under Steve Bruce that they are a better squad. I know you can say that they've been getting quite lucky with their clean sheets, but they're still getting them. And with their fixtures coming up, I do think we could see some more potential. I do think Newcastle are a lot better at home and a lot more stable at home. So just keep your eyes on that one. But with Lascelles at 4.2 million, and no worries kind of putting him on the bench if need be. I do think with his upcoming fixtures that he probably will be on the bench for some game weeks, but as I said, really cheap enabler, and I do think at 4.2 million, he's a really good price point to get into that Newcastle defense. You could also go for someone like Fernandes. He is a lot more expensive, about 0.5 million more, but if you can afford him, then I would also look at that way. It just has more of an attacking threat, whereas Lascelles, you're probably only going to be getting that kind of clean sheet points. He's only scored 1 goal in this FPL season. But as I said, nice fixtures coming up. Some nice home fixtures as well against the likes of Burnley, Sheffield United and Aston Villa, and even West Ham towards the end of it. But at 4.2 million, you can always just bench him. My second option to go for, and probably the one that I'm looking at currently, is O'Connell. The reason being is if I'm going to be taking out a Sheffield United player, I definitely want to be bringing one in to my FPL squads. I spoke about how good they've been defensively, and I don't really think O'Connell offers the most attacking threat, but he does offer some chances going forward. So O'Connell is my kind of lined up replacement for Sheffield United here. He does have that Game Week 28 blank. We'll be talking about that in a separate video. I'll be doing another guide to blank Game Week 28, so stay tuned for that video, probably coming on next week. But with O'Connell, I think those Bournemouth and Brighton fixtures, they can definitely be getting 2 clean sheets there, and it is 2 home fixtures, which is quite nice. The fixtures coming up afterwards are also quite nice as well, and I don't really think that Sheffield United are going to not be putting up a fight against the potential top 6 sides, so we don't even have to worry about those red fixtures. So O'Connell's probably my replacement to go for, but if you can't afford him, then Lascelles is also a decent option. The other options you can go for, the cheaper Sheffield United players, they're coming at about 4.5. Those are the other 2 centre backs for Sheffield United, so you could also opt for them. I just gone for O'Connell as I do think he offers a little bit more of an attacking threat. So going on to my 2 more premium options here. I know Willy Bolly is only 0.1 million more than O'Connell, but I've just classified him here as there's a little bit of a limitation on players between these price brackets. But Willy Bolly, I spoke about it with Raul Jimenez. Wolves are playing a lot better than they did in the previous game weeks of this FPL season, so I can see them getting quite a couple clean sheets here. I know they've got Leicester and Spurs, which are 2 tougher fixtures, but in and around that they have some very nice fixtures, and I do think that Willy Bolly always offers a little bit of an attacking threat from those set pieces, so he's also on my radar. Then Stevens, the more expensive Sheffield United player. So the nice thing with these more expensive Sheffield United players is they play as wingbacks. So in a back 5 system, they're the fullbacks and they're getting forward plenty and providing a lot of attacking return. So at 5.1 million, you can go for Stevens here. He does have that blank game week as we spoke about with O'Connell, but with Sheffield United, they could be worth it, and getting those 2 clean sheets in before that blank could be quite profitable. So these are my options to go for. If you go for a more premium option, I do think you have to look at Stevens, and if you can't afford O'Connell or someone like that, I think that Lascelles provides a great opportunity, but I do think the go-to options for a Lundstram replacement is just simply downgrading or upgrading him to another Sheffield United defender. The wildcard draft is going to be the last thing we talk about before the captaincy, and I know a lot of people are looking to use that wildcard draft as the last couple game weeks have been quite poor. So a lot of red arrows usually signal a wild card. So I've put here a nice draft for you. The whole draft revolves around this upcoming blank game week. So if you notice on screen here, I've opted for the double up in that goalkeeper position, Henderson and McCarthy. This whole draft consists of 3 outfield players that you will have to bench, but luckily the rest of the starting 11 should be in and around that starting lineup and should be getting you some points. So you don't have to worry too much about that blank game week, but as I said, we'll talk about that in a video later on next week. So in the defense, you have the double up of the Sheffield United boys and the Liverpool defense, and then opting for Lascelles and Rico as cheap enablers. Going on to the midfield, we have Hayden as our cheap enabler, opting for a 3-4-3 formation system in this wildcard draft, and you can basically play Traore and Raul Jimenez every single game week, along with Danny Ings' Vardy as the complementary striker. So Vardy's probably going to be the talked about player in this wildcard draft. A lot of people opting to downgrade him, but I do think with the upcoming fixtures and the money that I've invested in him, I still would look at Jamie Vardy as an option, but obviously you can downgrade and switch and swap players as you please. This is not my wildcard draft, this could be yours, so you can do whatever you want with it. Son, Salah and De Bruyne are my premium midfielders. I do think you still have to have a Man City option in here. I think with Aguero and Jesus, there's too much rotation risk, so I've opted for the safer De Bruyne here, and then Salah or Mane. It's up to you who you go for. I like the double defense of Liverpool in my Liverpool triple up, as I think they offer more value going forward, and it allows you to still have some premium options as well. So as I said, you can swap and change as much as you want in this wildcard draft. It is yours. I just think this is a good outline or good template to go for with the upcoming blank game week. So with captaincy, my 3 favorite options here are Salah or Mane versus Norwich, De Bruyne or Aguero, whoever you want to go for against West Ham, and then Son against Aston Villa. So Son's probably the nice differential to go for here. Aston Villa are always defensively atrocious, so I'm expecting Spurs to go out and score a couple against them, and I do think Son will be on the end of them, so that could be my differential. I think you have to almost go for one of Salah or De Bruyne to be on the safer side. I think a lot of people are going to be going for Salah just because of how consistent he's been in the last couple game weeks. Scored 16 points and then 16 points again, so I think a lot of people are willing to trust Salah on this one, so I think that he's probably going to be the most captained option and probably the safer option to go for. De Bruyne or Aguero or Jesus also offers a nice one. West Ham also not the greatest defensive side, so I do think that Man City will get a couple past them, especially because it is at the Etihad, whereas Norwich, it is an away fixture, which is a little bit annoying, but I think with Norwich, they always put up a fight against the top 6 sides, so I'm expecting Salah to do well, but I don't think he's going to be the best player this game week, which is why I've highlighted De Bruyne and Son here. You could also even go for Aubameyang. He has Newcastle at home, which could be quite a nice fixture if you want to go a little bit more differential, but I think these 3 are probably the 3 stables and probably the 3 safest options to go for, and as I said, obviously Salah's going to have the highest effective ownership. So this is going to wrap up the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please like it if you did, and subscribe if you're new or have not subscribed yet. Stay tuned for the team selection and deadline with Dayvy streams coming up later on in the week and prior to that game week 26 deadline. I'm going to be signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.